Hello Stitchy friends and welcome to my Flosstube channel. My name is Kenzie from Mud Puppy Stitchery. I am a cross-stitch designer, I am a bird nerd and a wildlife lover, and I enjoy doing all of the crafty things. So if you're new, welcome. I hope you like what you see and I hope that you'll continue to follow up with me on all of my future videos. And for my current subscribers, thank you so very much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. Well, hello everybody. I hope you're doing well. I am back a little bit early for a 2-week update, and this is something I'd like to try and do a little bit more often, just because I'd like to start growing my channel and try to reach some newer viewers. It seems like the algorithm likes more frequent uploads, so we'll give it a shot and see what happens. But I don't have too much to update you on as far as life things. TJ went down to Arizona for work this past week, and unfortunately we had to put down our 11-year-old rabbit Esme, so that's been rough. Her health started going downhill and her quality of life was becoming poor, so TJ had to make the decision right before he left for the trip. So she was his baby and she had been with him long before we were together. So it just sucked, and I keep looking for her whenever I come home, and I just remember that she's not there. Losing a pet is a really awful situation, but we know it was the right decision, and she will always be in our hearts. And so with that news out of the way, let's talk about something that brings us joy and relaxation, which is our stitching. And I've been working on my WIPS these past 2 weeks when I haven't been too tired in the evenings, and so things have been going well on that front. So let's move on over and start talking about some of my cross-stitch WIPs. The first one that I worked on was October 31st by Cottage Garden Samplings, and I took a little bit more time to start filling in the feather work of the crow. And this has been taking a lot of concentration and counting, and a little bit more time consuming. But once I fill in that pattern work, I can just do a whole bunch of black fill-in. But this was started in October of last year, and I'd really like to have them done before the end of the year, but we'll see about that. I'm really going to be focusing on my WIPs these past couple months of the year because I haven't counted, but I don't think I have a huge amount of finishes this year. I could be wrong, and I need to go back and double check, but I definitely want to increase that number, and getting this done would be a really great step forward. So if I'm able to complete him before the end of the year, I'm going to put in 2024 in the corner instead of October 31st like it says on the pattern, just because I want to display him all year round. And this was a stitch along with Lori of Mischievous Stitches, and I don't think she has completed hers yet either, so at least we're in the same boat. But this is being stitched on an 18 count cornflower by Fiber on a Whim Fabrics, and you'll probably be seeing more of this soon. Another WIP that I worked on was my Birds of a Feather Circle Together by Mama Loves You GB here on Flosstube and on Etsy. And I really needed to catch up on some of the leaves, and so that is exactly what I worked on this time. And the leaves are supposed to be in 2 DMC colors, but I decided that I wanted to use a variegated floss instead. And so I ordered a bunch of variegated greens from 123 Stitch, which I'll show you a little bit later on in my haul, but I ended up choosing collards by Weeks Dye Works. And this has a pretty subtle, deep leafy green variegation, and it ended up working perfectly for this piece. I've been working on this stitch along in conjunction with Kim the Contented Needleworker, and hers is turning out amazing. And she started on this bottom bird right here, and is going up this side. And you've probably noticed that mine looks completely different than the cover photo. And I'm completely altering all of the colors to have them look more like native North American birds, and I think it's turning out great. So far I have the barn swallow, the American goldfinch, and the eastern bluebird. I definitely need to keep knocking out the leaves, but I'm planning on starting at the bottom bird soon, which I'm translating as a purple martin. So I'm very excited about that. And I've had a couple questions on whether I'd be willing to share my color conversion, and absolutely. If you'd just like to shoot me an email, which will be listed down below, please feel free, and I will most certainly share the floss colors with you. But this is being stitched on an 18 count Valor by Picture This Plus and was started on October 19th of this year. The next WIP that I worked on was Pileated in Birch by Chickadee Needleworks here on Etsy. And this one does not have a cover page, so I'm just going to show you the chart really far away so that you can get the general idea. But it's this nice long skinny chart and has a lot of block stitching, and so this was started on February 4th of this year, and this is how far I got. I worked a little bit more on the black fill-in, and then I extended the outline on his tail, so that was ready to go. It's always nice to have fill-in work prepped so that when you're really tired, or if you're traveling and don't want to bring the chart, that you can just work on the fill-in. And I love how just bold and graphic this piece is, and a lot of people seem to really enjoy this one as well. And it's looking fantastic on this really dark blue fabric, which is Dusk by Fiber on a Whim. Everything just pops off of it. So for next time, I'll probably just work on more of the black fill-in and then possibly work on the outline of the rest of the birch tree. So that's prepped and ready to go as well. But this is Pileated in Birch by Chickadee Needleworks on Etsy. This next WIP I've been itching to work on, and I'm so glad that I pulled it out again, and this was Moggy Manor by The Blue Flower. Now, this is an older WIP that was started back in April of 2023. And once I finish my 100 Owls piece, I think this piece will replace that as a focus piece. But this is what it looks like so far. Again, you'll notice quite a few color changes, especially in the house, and I changed that one to Laurel Wreath by Color and Cotton. I grew up in a big greenhouse, and so I thought that was perfect to be represented here. And you'll notice at the bottom, I have the words changed to All Dogs Go to Heaven instead of Moggy Manor. So this is actually a memorial piece to all of the dogs that have been in my life that have passed away. And so originally the design has lots of cats on it, but I am changing all of those to dogs. And you can see I have two Cavalier King Charles Spaniels on both sides representing my grandparents' dog Heidi and my family's dog Zoe. So this piece has a lot of special meaning to me, and I absolutely love how it's turning out, especially on this beautiful gold fabric, which is Old Gold by My Vintage Needle Arts on Etsy. But long explanation aside, what I worked on was this bird and the leaves on this branch, and then I added in this second bird. So not a whole lot of work done, but it felt good to bring this piece back out again. And again, I'm thinking this will be a focus piece for 2025, and I'm also thinking that I'm going to add in a little rabbit somewhere for Esme. I'm not sure where yet, but I'll tuck it in somewhere in the design, and I think that will be really cute. So this was Moggy Manor by The Blue Flower. The last project that I worked on was Strawberry Bird by The Blue Flower, and I am so very close to a finish on this one. And this is what it looks like so far. This raspberry fabric is to die for. I absolutely love how it looks with this pattern. And this is 18 count dark pink by My Vintage Needle Arts on Etsy, and I just love it. I wasn't able to get a huge amount of progress, but I was able to finish this white flower right over here and start working on the rest of the strawberry vines here. Up in this corner right over here will be another cedar waxwing, so I'm saving that for the end. And this was started on New Year's Eve of last year, so it would be really cool if I would be able to put in the last stitches by New Year's Eve of this year, but we'll see about that. But this is one of my favorite WIPs that I'm working on, and I cannot wait until I have it fully finished. No ideas yet on how I'm going to fully finish it, but if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments down below. So this was Strawberry Bird by the Blue Flower. I'd like to show you something that's not cross stitch related, but really cool. And that's some wool applique that I've been working on for the past while. A bit ago, I bought 2 kits, and this was one of them, which was Winter Glow by Jerome Thomas Designs. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It's got this candle and like a poinsettia design, and it's just perfect for the upcoming holiday season. So this is how far I've gotten. So I have completed the candle and the candle holder, and have started working on the vines that reach up towards the poinsettia at the top. I love how it's turning out, although it's significantly harder than I thought it would be because there's so many super tiny little shapes to cut out, and then you're already doing tiny stitches on those super tiny shapes. So it's definitely taken some work and some practice, but I think it's turning out okay. I'm already doing things differently than recommended by the pattern because everything is blanket stitched here around the edges, but I tried doing that and I was not happy with how it was looking. It just didn't look as neat and tidy, and so I've mainly been doing back stitches instead of the recommended blanket stitch, and I think that looks just fine. So we'll see. I'm just going to keep plugging away at this and we'll hopefully make some more progress. Before I hop into my cross-stitching haul and plans, I'd like to move on to another segment I like to call Wildlife Minute, where I give a little talk on wildlife and biology, animals, or anything that strikes my fancy. So hopefully you'll learn something new and it will encourage you to take a deeper dive into the wonders of the natural world. But if you're just interested in the crafty stuff, feel free to hop to this time point. Hello everybody, Wildlife Kenzie here. I am so excited to be talking to you about this incredible bird, and that is the pileated woodpecker. Now, these crow-sized, extremely distinct-looking birds are absolutely beautiful and are one of my many favorite species of woodpeckers. They have a long, dark body, a black and white striped face, and of course that fabulous red mohawk. Both the males and the females look almost exactly the same, except for the males have a little red stripe on their cheek, and that's sometimes called their red mustache. Pileatids are quite widespread year-round about the eastern part of the US and across most of Canada. They are one of 239 species of woodpeckers worldwide, and one of the largest amongst them. Pileated woodpeckers have a bit of a strange name, and the word pileated comes from the Latin root pileatus, meaning caps. As far as sounds, they are most known for their distinctive drumming on the trees as a way to communicate to other woodpeckers and to find their most favorite treat, which is carpenter ants. Ants and insects are their main diet, but they also are known to go after fruits, nuts, and suet. As they're drumming, they leave distinctive long horizontal holes in the trunks, looking for food and excavating for their own nest cavities. These nesting cavities in dead trees are crucial habitat for many other bird species and also provide ample food from the rotting wood. One of the weirdest and coolest things about woodpeckers is their extremely long tongues that are specifically adapted for finding food. Their tongues actually start at the base of their nostrils, and it splits and it goes around the back of their skull, attaches back together, and then goes out of their mouth. So, as you can see, they've got really, really long tongues. And that makes sense. If you're eating ants, a long tongue is going to be a great tool to get all into those cracks and crevices. So that was today's Wildlife Minute. I really hope you enjoyed it. I can now appreciate how weird and how wonderful woodpeckers are. Now let's get back to the stitching. All right, welcome back everyone. I wanted to chat with you guys about what happened to my big modern folk embroidery project that I started in September, and then I haven't really talked about it again since. So I was really excited because I wanted to start the Fruits of Plenty, which is the 2021 stitch along that I've always loved this design. And it is a big project with a lot of it being almost full coverage. So I wanted to get my combination of fabric and floss just right. And I was having the hardest time deciding on what colors I wanted to do, just because there's so many beautiful color combinations I could think of, and it was a bit overwhelming. And like I said, I wanted to get it right because this is a long-term project with only a couple colors, so I didn't want to get sick of working with those colors. And initially I had found this beautiful floss from Weeks Dye Works called Latte, which online looked like a beautiful greenish and cream with some brown and some pink combinations. It looked absolutely gorgeous. And I thought it would look fantastic with Eggshell by Fiber on a Whim Fabrics, which is a neutral but pulled slightly greenish. So I thought that combination would be amazing. Unfortunately, when I received the floss, it looked like this. So very neutral and pretty, but not what it had looked like online. So I was quite disappointed. And I needed to figure out what other type of floss might look good with a fabric that I had already bought. And I'd always heard good things about Roxy Floss Co. and decided to look on their website and was instantly attracted to Plumage and Violet Woods. And I thought that combination would look really interesting on Eggshell with its neutral green undertone. So the floss came, it's beautiful, but not as variegated as I thought it would be, and it ended up not looking as good on the fabric as I thought, because the fabric does pull a little bit more yellowy green. So I wasn't happy with it. So then I went down a rabbit hole with Cottage Garden threads, which are absolutely beautiful and super variegated. And I ended up settling on Sandy Bay, which is a bluish, greenish, yellowish combination that I thought would work well with the fabric. And I bought a couple other colors because I couldn't resist and I was curious about them as well. The flosses came, they're gorgeous, and I started stitching with Sandy Bay and ended up not liking it. So I'm not sure if it depends on the certain dye lot, but for me there wasn't enough green in between the yellow and the blue. So when I was stitching with it, it just looked like yellow and blue stripes, which I didn't like. So at this point I'm frustrated and I don't really know what to do, and I am in full experimentation mode. So I just start pulling out my other Cottage Garden flosses that I had also bought and started stitching with them to see if any of those would work on the fabric, or if I'd really like the floss but would need to change up the fabric. So I started stitching with Lily Pilly and Skylark and ended up really liking the color variation of Skylark, but not on this fabric. So I tried stitching with Skylark on a different scrap of fabric called Barnwood by Picture This Plus, and it looked incredible on this fabric, especially with DMC 3371 as a dark base against it. And you'll notice there's some pink next to it. This was another Cottage Garden thread that I was curious about called Jacaranda, and I just decided to try that floss as well. But I don't know if I want to go with such a dark fabric for such a big piece, even though the color combination looks great. But now that I've experimented and tried things out, I've decided I'm not going to stitch it on the 18 count Eggshell by Fiber on a Whim, but I'm still not entirely sure what color combination I want to go with. So all this to say, this project is in a timeout, and I'm thinking on it, but I wanted to explain my process in case anybody was wondering what had happened to this project. And hopefully it will make you feel better if this happens to you, because sometimes picking out colors, especially when you're shopping online, can sometimes be a doozy. But like many of you have said, it is a big, long-term project, and you need to love what you're stitching on. So I'll get it figured out, and as soon as I do, I will of course keep you guys updated. Okay, let's move on to some haul. So like I was talking about before, I had ordered several variegated green flosses from Weeks Dye Works for my Birds of a Feather Circle Together piece, so that I could stitch the leaves in one color. And this was my haul. So they are all so pretty, and I could always use more variegated greens in my stash, so these would be very, very useful. So we've got Bayberry, we've got Celadon, we have Lucky, we have Holly, and we also have Collards. So love all of those colors. And I also bought some smaller cuts of fabric to help build up my stash and to try some new fabric colors. And it doesn't help that buying hand-dyed fabrics is one of my favorite parts of cross-stitching. So we've got Heritage, we've got Shale, we've got Da Vinci, we've got Jasper, and this is Discord. And I think this one is my favorite, Discord, which is like a deep dark berry color. So gorgeous, and I am so pleased that I have all of these in my stash. As far as things coming down the pipeline, I mainly plan to be focusing on my WIPS because I have more than enough to work on, and I want to get some finishes before the end of the year. And my number one goal is completing 100 owls. And I only have one more quadrant left before I'm completely done, and this will get professionally framed. And then once that's complete, I'm going to be focusing on some smaller WIPs that are close to a finish, probably like October 31st, and maybe Strawberry Bird, and hopefully get at least one of those complete. So I'm really going to be focusing on my WIPs these next couple months. And I will probably have one new start sometime soon, and that will be Bedelia Bunny by the Artsy Housewife. And this will of course be to remember our bunny Esme, so this will be turned into a little black bunny. It'll be bittersweet, but I think this will be a beautiful piece to remember her by. And that is all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like the video, please comment down below, and please check out my Etsy page, which will also be linked, and please follow me at Mud Puppy Stitchery on Instagram to keep an eye on what I'm doing in between videos. So I appreciate you so very much, and I hope to see you in a couple weeks. So take care, and do some bird watching, and stitch all of the things. Bye!